Hello everybody, it's Mrs. Pound and I am back with the last video for Chapter 5 on genetics from BJU Biology's 4th edition. And what we're going to continue talking about today is from Section 5B on basic genetics. And we're going to conclude with subsection 5.6 on sex determination and sex-linked traits. So our objectives today will be to differentiate between autosomes and sex chromosomes and explain how sex-linked traits affect inheritance of traits. So first of all, the sex chromosomes that determine whether we are male or female are X and Y. XX is a female, so in order to be a female, you have to inherit two X chromosomes, and XY is a male, so an X and a Y chromosome. Now, an interesting thing about this too is because females have two X chromosomes, they are not actually the ones who determine the sex of their children. It is the male who has an X and a Y. If he passes on an X, and his wife provides an X, then the child will be female. If he passes on a Y, then the X and Y match up and the child is a male. And so Henry VIII actually divorced and had many of his wives killed because there were no male children being produced, when it was actually his fault, not his wife's fault. Now, autosomes are chromosomes that are not sex chromosomes. So the only sex chromosomes are X and Y. Everything else is an autosome. And you have 23 pairs of chromosomes in your body. So most of those pairs, 22 of them, are autosomes. Now, there's this interesting condition of sex-linked traits. This is a trait carried only on the X chromosome. The Y chromosome is actually very small and doesn't carry a whole lot of information. It does carry information for traits that have to do with maleness. Um, but it doesn't have a whole lot of information. So there's a lot of information that it just does not have a homologous gene on the other chromosome, on the X chromosome, the Y and X, there's some information missing there from the Y. So some examples of these traits are things like hemophilia, which is a disease, a blood disorder, in which an individual's blood does not clot, red-green color blindness, and male pattern baldness. And because of this, men are more likely to have these conditions because if they inherit the gene from their mother, they will have it. Okay, if they just have to inherit one because there isn't a match for it on the Y chromosome. If females inherit it, they have another X chromosome to counteract it. They have another gene at that same location. And so they may be what we call carriers, but not exhibit it. So if a male has hemophilia, red-green color blindness, or male pattern baldness, he actually inherited that from his mother, not his father. So if you're wondering if you're going to go bald, guys, take a look at your grandfathers on your mother's side of the family, your grandfather and grandparents and extended family on that side of the family to determine if maybe you might go bald. Okay. Don't look at your father's side of the family. So a carrier of a sex-linked trait has the gene but does not exhibit the physical characteristics of the trait. And so for sex-linked traits, females are the carriers. Men cannot be carriers because they either have it or they don't. Okay, so they cannot carry it. They either have it or they don't. It cannot be hidden by another dominant trait. So an example would be a carrier is always a heterozygous female. And for this example, it's color blindness. So this female's genes are X big G, X little g. X big G stands for normal vision. X little g stands for red-green color blindness. So as you can see from her genotype, she is not colorblind. She has normal vision because it is dominant, but she can pass on the red-green color blindness gene to her offspring. If she passes it on to a female, then that female will probably be a carrier unless, or it could be a carrier if her father is also colorblind, if she gets passed on the red-green color blindness gene. Um, if this woman has boys, there's a 50-50 chance that her children will be colorblind, red-green colorblind, because she can pass along the gene for normal vision, or she could pass along the gene for red-green color blindness. So, so only females can be carriers as far as sex-linked traits are concerned. So our objectives today were to differentiate between autosomes and sex chromosomes and explain how sex-linked traits affect inheritance of traits. So don't forget your 5 questions in the margin and keep watching this video to answer the questions at the end. And also, you are ready now for a test, so that is coming up.